Video games can do one specific thing that no other art form really can. You can be just as immersed in books and movies and TV shows, but there's something that video games do that goes way beyond immersion. And if you feel something very visceral when you see this, or this, or this, then you might already know what it is that sets video games apart. Unlike every other art form, video games give you agency. They put you in control of what happens, and that does a very strange thing to your mind. Developers use it to play psychological tricks on you all the time, and they've gotten so good at it that you probably don't even realize what's happening. But you're about to. Let's start with something your brain is doing right now without telling you. Even if you've never played Hollow Knight before, even if you know nothing about it, look at this area of the game. Instantly, before you can even put into words that you're feeling anything at all, your brain knows this place is dangerous. Minimal lighting, barely any room to maneuver, your fight or flight response activates in the same breath that your mind realizes that neither option is really guaranteed. The level design itself is communicating threat before a single enemy appears. But here's what's strange. It's not just tight spaces that do this, because if you're moving through an area that looks like this, and then the path suddenly opens into this, you feel a completely different kind of dread. The ceiling rises, the room widens, and even before the music shifts and the cutscene begins, your brain already knows big room equals boss fight equals danger. Your mind is constantly reading spatial information and assessing threats as you play games, and it's solely because you have agency. You are in control, which means your brain really perceives danger. And game designers know this. They use level design to make you feel something before anything has even happened. But space is really just the beginning, because once a designer has established that sense of danger, they unlock something even more powerful. Safety triggers. Before we get into safety triggers, it's worth asking, does every game need to create dread? Well, not exactly, but even non-horror games understand the psychology of contrast, and they use it to convey certain things about what you're doing. Look at the first level of Super Meat Boy. It has no danger at all. Level 2 introduces a saw, but it's locked behind some rocks. No danger, but there's the idea of danger. Level 3, those saws are now out in the open, but not in a place where anyone would really hit them. The developers are ramping up the feeling of danger without actually introducing any. It's not until level 6 that there's a saw that actually threatens you. And by then, you've seen enough of them to feel the threat. It's not just seeing it anymore, now you feel the danger. So why do this? Well, it's because by level 8, when the screen is covered in saws, you feel more triumphant clearing it, even though most of those saws were never going to hit you. The developers manufactured stakes. They made the danger feel real before it actually was. It slowly ramped up, and that made the victory sweeter. And that's really the heart of everything I want to talk about today. Contrast. Danger needs relief to feel like danger, and relief needs danger just the same. Okay, so remember that term I used before, safety triggers? Well, the really cool thing is how different games manage that contrast largely by introducing safety triggers. A safety trigger is something developers put in some games that you come to associate with safety. Not by accident, the developers painstakingly couple the safety trigger with the feeling of safety and then reinforce that connection. Benches in Hollow Knight are a perfect example. In a game that constantly challenges your skill and sends you deep into unknown, dangerous places, the bench saves your progress, updates your map, and heals you. If Team Cherry scattered these benches every few screens, they'd mean nothing. The game would have no stakes, and the benches wouldn't make you feel relief. But because they are few and far between, the moment you spot one, you feel that sense of relief. The last 20 minutes of barely surviving weren't for nothing, and now your updated map takes some of the dread of the unknown out of the area. The bench works because the danger works, and the danger works much better because of the bench. Bonfires in Dark Souls operate on the same principle, just turned up to 11. That amber glow off in the distance has become one of the most emotionally loaded images in gaming. Not because From Software told you it was important, but because the game earned it. Every brutal ambush, every grueling death, every white-knuckle corridor fight makes that bonfire hit harder. The trigger is powerful because the contrast is alive and well. And then there's the safe room in Resident Evil. This one takes a different approach entirely. It's a hard tonal shift. The moment you step through the door, the music changes from horror ambience to something almost peaceful. You have access to a storage chest, an ink ribbon to save your progress, a map on the table. Resident Evil uses aesthetics to tell you this place is safe. The rules are different in here. 3 games, 3 completely different executions, but they're all doing the same thing, training you to trust a safety trigger. But there's a problem with trained trust. It can be broken. The best developers don't just build safety triggers. They establish them, reinforce them, and then at exactly the right moment, they use them against you. Let's start with a mostly innocuous example, because some of these get pretty sinister. Let's start with the Mimic in Dark Souls. You've opened dozens of chests. Chests are safe. They give you rewards. They're a positive thing. You've been conditioned to believe this. So you walk up to this one, low on Estus, relieved to see it, and the chest bites your face off. And the interesting thing is that our brains are really good at picking up on patterns, but they're even better at assessing danger. And so even though you've seen dozens of chests without teeth, a single mimic is enough to make you question every single chest after it. Dark Souls has made something safe feel dangerous, and it only had to do it once. Hollow Knight plays a similar trick with the fake grub. Rescuing grubs is a sweet little side quest in the game. You hear the little moo moo of the grub, you find the vessel, and you set it free. It's wholesome. It's safe. And then, in one specific encounter, the grub grows legs, bares its teeth, and attacks you. And Team Cherry knows that your brain is good at finding patterns, but it also knows that it's better at assessing danger. So all they need to do is put that one single monster grub in there to make you question every grub you find thereafter. There's Aldia in Dark Souls 2 bursting out of the bonfire, the fake site of grace in Elden Ring, and plenty of other examples. All of these moments serve the same purpose. They protect the stakes. If you could always fully relax at a save point, the relief might go flat. By occasionally violating that trust the game has built with you, designers ensure you never completely stop feeling the tension, because there's always that small, quiet voice asking, is that another mimic? And any game that can get you to feel things like this is impressive. But one game in particular takes this further than any of the others. And it does it in a way that's genuinely unsettling once you understand what's happening. This is where it gets really interesting. Everything we've talked about so far works in the moment. A mimic surprises you. A fake grub makes you flinch. Aldia jump scares you. These are immediate. You feel them, and then you move on. But Silent Hill 3 does something different. Something slower and more intentional, and definitely more sinister. Something you may not ever realize even if you've played through the games dozens of times. When you encounter the first safe room in the game, you're forced to look into a mirror to save. It seems like a quirky mechanic, but you don't think much of it. You save and move on. But Team Silent isn't really about quirky mechanics. We all know that. Everything from the clunky controls to the locked camera angles to the lack of a heads-up display is all very purposeful. It's all to give you that coveted sense of video game-induced dread. So no, when the game makes you look into a mirror to save, it's not random. The developers are planting a seed. A very nefarious seed. Surprise, surprise. Mirrors are one of the key ways Silent Hill 3 explores some of its darker themes: body insecurity, self-perception, and the horror of seeing yourself for who you really are. Now, keep in mind this mirror in the first safe room, it's before these themes are well established. All your brain remembers is the mirror. It's not for a long time that it makes the connection with everything else. And Team Silent leaves a breadcrumb trail from that first safe room mirror to another iconic room. The mirror room. Later in the game, there's something that happens in the mirror room that is one of the most genuinely disturbing sequences in video game history. The game's designers knew they wanted your subconscious mind to link safety with horror. There's that contrast again. They knew that the safe room and the horror room needed to share a symbol. Because when you're deep in that horror mirror sequence, some part of your brain is going to remember, I've looked into a mirror in this game before and it was fine. And as the sequence in the mirror room progresses, the gap between that memory of safety and what you're experiencing makes the horror land harder. It's classical conditioning working across hours of gameplay. The safe room gives you relief in the moment, but more importantly, it makes a later horror hit deeper than it otherwise would. That's a level of craft that most games don't even attempt. Video games aren't the first art form to manipulate your emotions. Books do it, movies do it, TV shows do it, music and physical art do it. But there's a reason these safety triggers and subversions hit differently in a video game. In a movie, you watch a character walk into a room. In a game, you walk into the room. You made that decision. You pressed that button. That agency, that sense of ownership over what the main character is doing, that is what makes the psychology so powerful. Because a game doesn't make the character feel unsafe, it makes you feel unsafe. The relief when you spot a bonfire in the distance is yours. The dread you feel in the heart of Deep Nest is yours. Games aren't just triggering emotions like other media. And understanding that changes how you experience this medium. Maybe you look at a safety trigger we haven't mentioned here and you recognize it for what it is. Maybe you play a survival horror game or a challenging platformer or a Metroidvania and you start to understand not only what you're feeling, but why you're feeling it. It could let you connect with a game and its developers on a whole new level. So the next time you feel your heart sink as you walk into a big empty room or a wave of relief wash over you at the sight of a save point, stop and notice it. Because what you're feeling is evidence of a designer who understood their medium so deeply that they could reach through the screen and make you, the player, feel something real. That's what the best games do, and now you know how. Thanks for watching.